What's ripening YouTube? So I'm in the banana thinning phase of my springtime cleanup, and I wanted to talk a little bit about banana propagation. And it's not super hard. Well, it depends on what you consider hard. It's kind of hard work to get them out, but it's not that hard to keep them alive once you get them out. The main thing is you want to make sure that you get some corm. Corm being the part where the roots come out. If you cut it off right here, this is all stem. This is about the break point where this is all corm. So all these pups should take. You'll notice that when I take pups, I always cut the roots off. There's several reasons I do that. One is that when you're potting them up, it's just way easier to pack them into the pot when there's not a bunch of spaghetti noodles everywhere. So it's just easier that way. And number two, from what I understand, the existing roots, they'll die off anyway, and it's going to regenerate. And you'll notice, like, you start peeling back, maybe it won't be on that one, but there's new roots already starting to form, like almost immediately. So as soon as these go in the pot, they'll be fine. The other thing I do, especially on these bigger ones, I cut the little baby pups off. And the reason is I want as much energy to go into the original as possible. And these are gonna put out new pups anyway, so you don't have to worry about that. Here's one over here. Normally I cut them off, like you see, that's cut off. That one's gonna pop out next, but it's gonna have time to establish a root system before it does, so it'll be able to support it. This is one that I missed. I probably should have popped that one off, but it doesn't really matter. I also take like I said, take the leaves off. The reason you take the leaves off is because if you got no roots, you're not going to be able to support the leaves anyway. So the leaves are just going to wither and look like crap anyway. So why not just take them off and let the plant recover from its traumatic injury and relocation as well as possible. When I take pups like this, you'll notice they're all sitting on the ground. I let them sit outside for at least 24 hours, preferably a little bit longer. And the reason I do that is because I want the wound to scab over. These are all, I literally just cut these, but if you see that juice right there? It's starting to create a scab, just like you do. When you cut yourself or scrape yourself, you create a scab. And you have to go through a little phase where you ooze out, whatever that scab creating material is. You create the scab, and then it's kind of safe to, you can touch the area, it's not going to be harmed. If you plant them without letting that happen, a lot of times you can have fungal issues in the ground, especially if you're trying to water it a lot to keep it alive. That's another thing. When you plant a banana fresh out of the ground like this, you don't have to water it that much. It's got a lot of water in the stem, and it doesn't have any roots anyway, so think about it. What are you really watering? If you are going to water, maybe just a little bit right at the base, but really it's not that necessary the first probably several days. Once it starts to put out a leaf, then you can water it if you want. Usually if you've got enough mulch on a banana, it doesn't really need any help, but it kind of depends on where you're starting from and where you're growing. These big pups like this, a lot of times, I'll show you. A lot of times what I do is cut them off low like that. And it's gonna send up, it's gonna replace itself. All these leaves, like literally I cut this like 30 minutes ago and it's already starting to push leaves again. So this isn't dead. This hasn't fruited. It's gonna push out leaves and start over. And then as it establishes, it's probably gonna start create pups. And that's another reason one of the main reasons I pull the pups off is because I want this main baby to go, especially if it's this size. This was probably not far away from fruiting. So if I plant something like this, a lot of times I'll get fruit within a few months from a stump. So that's what I do with the big stumps. I cut them off low. You don't have to. Sometimes I keep them high because people just like to plant them that way. They like to be able to see what they have. Here's ones I did yesterday, and you'll see where it's starting to scab. It's still a little bit gooey, a little soft. So these still need to dry out a little bit longer before they go either in the ground or in a pot. These smaller ones probably dry out a little bit quicker. If you guys are interested in these, I do sell my banana pups locally, and I also ship them. My website, what'sripening.com. I think I've only got the dwarf Namois, that's what these are over on this side. I think that's the only one that's posted on the website. I'll have to fix that so you can pick other varieties. But I've also got Mysore. Let me show you what I got over here. These are called ice cream bananas. And if you look at them, they're also called blue Java. They have kind of a blue hue. I haven't taken the pups off those yet, but that's another one. You see I've got them fruiting everywhere. There's blue Java there, all the way down this row. And then if we come over to the next row, this is Rajapuri. And these ones are a little bit smaller tree. They're kind of the same size as the Namois, but to me, they're not quite as hardy, but amazing tasting fruit. So if you want the diversity, I would get them, but if you're gonna just pick one, I'd get that dwarf Namois. This row over here is the dwarf Cavendish, or at least I think it is. I'm waiting to confirm that, so I don't know for sure. And then this row over here is another set of dwarf Namois. That's dwarf Namois is the one I plant the most of. It's stout. It's hard to beat. It tastes great. Productive. Fruit's really low. I mean, you can see it's touching the ground. So that's the winner to me. If you want diversity, like if you wanted a collection, that's when I would go into getting like the Mysore, the Rajapuri, the ice cream, dwarf Cavendish. I've got a few other ones that I'm trying out, like Huamoa, Sabah, Kandarian. I've got some of the Fia varieties. I've got the Jamaican Red. I've got, what do I have? Apple. The 3640. Praying Hands. There's a whole bunch. I don't know how many I have. A bunch of them. But anyway, these are the ones that I've identified as being the best for my climate. So I'm growing them out as a grow out for production and for nursery stock. I put a lot of bananas in my landscape designs. They have a lot of functions, and I think you should put them in your designs too, or in your homescape. Anyway, that's it. That's what's ripening. See you next time.